What's up, everyone? My name is Karla, and today I want to share with you my birth story, or my labor and delivery story. So I just had a baby girl. She's my first baby. I don't have any kids. It's my first one, and her name is Araya. She was born on August 3rd. So I want to go back. I'm going to start my story on August 1st because on August 1st, I was walking the dogs with my mom in the evening, and we were talking about pre-labor just symptoms. And I had told her, I feel tightness in my stomach, but I really didn't think much of it because I don't know. I didn't imagine that could be a sign of pre-labor, and I'm not even sure if it was or what that was about. But anyways, we were just talking, and she was telling me that when she was pregnant with me, she didn't have any contractions, that her water actually just broke, and then she was rushed to the hospital and she was in labor. Um, so for me, I had been taking the classes at the hospital, and they said, you're going to get contractions, and when they're like a certain time apart from each other, then you're going to call labor and delivery. So that's what I'm expecting to happen. I'm expecting to have contractions and call labor and delivery because I live about an hour away from the hospital. So, that like we have this conversation, and then now it's the next day, August 2nd. I wake up, I have like a little bit of spotting, but I call labor and delivery, and they told me that was fine, that was normal for being 37 weeks pregnant, that just as long as it's not heavy bleeding, that I'm soaking through a pad, that everything was okay. So I was like, okay. So I go get breakfast, breakfast of champs. I go to Taco Bell. I eat breakfast in the car. And then I'm like, I was going to have breakfast at home that day, but I didn't have like the stuff I needed. So I needed to go to the grocery store. So I had the Taco Bell. Then I go to the grocery store. And, I'm kind of worried because I still have the spotting. And then I go back home. And then I decide like, I'm going to work. Sorry, the baby's waking up. I'm going to work in the baby's room because I still have some stuff that I need to finish putting. So I go work in the baby room. I put the stuff away, and I just finish tightening up, cleaning and tidying up everything that's left to do. And then I have like my little shark vacuum, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put it in the room. I'm gonna close the door because that thing leaves wherever I put it, and I want it to vacuum, it leaves. So I close the door, and then I'm like, I'm gonna go lay down because I'm tired now, right? So I close the door. I go lay down. I literally I'm gonna watch TV for a little bit and lay down. Right when I turn on the TV and I lay down, probably like 30 seconds later, my water breaks. I just hear a pop, and then I just feel like a sudden gush of like fluids, right? So I get up and I'm like, oh my God, like this is what my mom was talking about the day before. So I run to the bathroom. I'm like crying because I'm here at home by myself. I'm like, oh shoot, this is like what I didn't want to happen. Me to be here by myself and have to take myself to the hospital. I don't know. I felt very overwhelmed. So I'm in the bathroom. I'm trying to call my mom at this point. She had went back to work. This was her first day back at work for a training. And then she's in another city, for like where the hospital is about an hour away. So I'm calling her. She doesn't answer. She's a very dedicated worker. And I'm like, oh my God, Lord, please let my mom look at the phone, please. I call her and I call her, and I'm like, you know what? I need to call labor and delivery. That's who I need to call. So then I call labor and delivery. I explain to them what happened, and then they're like, if it's your water that broke, like it's not going to stop coming out. So I'm sitting on the toilet at this point talking to them. I stand up and like more water gushes out. So I'm like, no, that's for sure. It's the water broke. I said, I'm definitely, yes, and they're like, okay, you can drive yourself. Or they told me to head on over. So I'm like concerned because I'm like, well, my boyfriend is at work. My mom's at work. Am I okay to drive myself? Because it's a long way. And they told me if I didn't feel pain that, yeah, I can come on by, drive myself. And mind you, the night before, I also finished packing my hospital bag. I'm just like, oh my God, thank God, that I did these things. So I finished packing the hospital bag. My coworker had given me a Duna stroller. So at this point, I don't remember how to fold the stroller, right? I have the base in the car. I don't know how to fold the stroller. I just shoved the stroller in the car like that. Thank God it fit. I grabbed my hospital bag. My poor dogs are looking at me like, what is going on? They're concerned and scared because I'm there frantic and crying and just trying to get out, right? So I make it out. I call my boyfriend too, and he's like, okay, he's trying to send his sister to come get me. But mind you, the sister also, I live 45 minutes to an hour, depending if there's traffic, right, away from the main city. So he's trying to send his sister, and I'm like, I don't know. I'd rather just start heading that way than wait 45 minutes for her to get here and another 45 minutes for me to get to the hospital, and I don't know, there's traffic on Fridays. So my mom has called me back now by this point. I ended up texting her, Mom, I think my water broke. I already called the doctor or the hospital. I'm headed over there now. She's finally calls me back, thank God. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, I'm heading over there. She's worried, telling me to stay at home and wait. She's coming. But mind you, it was a Friday. There's so much traffic, like, coming this direction for the commute, And I was like, Mom, like, I'm just going to head over there. Anyway, sorry, my phone rang. The baby woke up. Well, anyway, so I'm like, Mom, I'm just gonna head over there. It's too long, and I don't know how much time I have. I'm scared, but I was like, don't worry. That if I start feeling pain or anything, I'll pull over and I'll just call 911. Okay, so she's like, okay, I'll just meet you. She's trying to convince me to park somewhere and she'll pick me up from there. And I'm like, Mom, just meet me at the hospital. I think that's best. Like, I'm not feeling any pain right now. Like, what I felt was like minor contractions. I think it felt like period cramps. Like, but like it was not. It was bearable. They were very light cramping, is what I felt. Um, so I'm driving to the hospital, and then out of all days, right, I see the police in the front doing zigzags, and I'm like, oh my God, they're closing the freeway. I start to panic and stuff, but it must have been something quick because I took a little detour on the street and I got back on the freeway, and you could see the freeway from the street. Like, so from where I took the detour, I could see the freeway and I could see it was flowing. So it must have been quick. Anyways, I get back on the freeway. I get to the hospital and I'm just parking the labor and delivery, just like right at the little loading zone. And I let them know. Then my mom's there by this point. Then my boyfriend got there shortly after. Um, so now I'm at the hospital, and they checked me into the room and stuff. They said I was getting contractions. And I was gonna try to do this like without any medication. I really tried. I really did. And then I don't know. Like, I thought I had a high pain tolerance, but maybe not because I think I got like 4 centimeters dilated, and I was done. I was like, give me all of the medications that you have, please, ASAP. So then, and it's kind of scary because the first medication they give you, well, if you don't want to go straight into like the epidural, they gave me fentanyl. So that was I don't know, it was a little concerning, right? And that was the fentanyl was just to help me until they got the epidural stuff like set up, and the anesthesiologist came to do that. But the contraction pain, I don't know. I feel like I definitely should have prepared better for like how to handle the pains and stuff, because once I was there, it was like that's all I could focus on, the pain. I feel like I didn't really have any breathing techniques down like how I had wanted to. And honestly, I wasn't expecting to have the baby already, right? I still had like a few more weeks, and I thought I was going to have time to prepare, and I didn't. So yeah, so I'm there. They give me the medicine. So that helps relieve the pain, and then I got the epidural after that. So I'm thinking, so I got I got to the hospital around like let me rewind. So my water broke around 1:20 on Friday. So I got to the hospital. It was probably like 2:30 ish by the time I got there because I got out of my house as fast as I could. Um, but so I'm there, and they decide to wait to see if my contractions are gonna come on their own and come consistently, because I was getting contractions. But I guess I wasn't getting them as consistent as they should be. They were just irregular. So they end up having to induce me. Uh, so they tried that, and then pretty much like in the middle of the morning, they came and checked how far along I was dilated. I was only like between 6 and 7, so I still wasn't ready to give birth. And but in the morning around like 6, I wake up with pain. So I'm feeling the contractions now at like 6 in the morning, and I'm like crying kind of, and I already felt like annoying because I felt like I had called the nurse in and out of the my room like all throughout the night, and I don't know, I felt like she looked annoyed, so I was like, I don't want to bother them anymore, but like I could really feel like everything down there. Like the epidural is doing nothing. They attach a little machine thing, or I don't know, but it gives you the opportunity to give yourself more of the epidural medication, um like if you're feeling the pain and stuff, but it just lets you do it at one time every certain amount of minutes, so I had done that, and I'm like, no, I could feel everything. And then the nurse happens to walk in just to check in on her own, right? And I'm like practically in tears, and she's like, oh, like if you're uncomfortable, let us know, we'll call the anesthesiologist to give you more. And then she comes and I'm like, well, are they going to check how much further I am dilated? You know, they checked in the middle of the morning. I was between 6 and 7, and I want to know how. So I wanted to know how far I was now, and she tells me like, oh, sure, we're gonna have the midwife come and check, but right now she's gonna do the help with an epidural with another patient, and then she'll come. I'm like, okay. So like an hour goes by and they're still not back, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like losing it because I'm like, I feel so much pain. The epidural's not doing anything. The anesthesiologist hasn't come yet. The midwife hasn't come yet. Like, and I'm suffering. So finally, the midwife comes and she checks, and she'll, oh, you're a 10. You're at 10 now. We can start pushing. I'm like, oh my God. And then shortly after, the anesthesiologist walks in, but they're like, no, we're going to start with the pushing already. It's like, oh, okay. So then we start with some pushes, and like, uh, so we start with some pushes, but the baby's not coming down like it's how she should be. Like the nurse said that, like, the pushing looks like I'm pushing great, but for some reason she's not coming down. So what they decided to do is give me some more Pitocin, which is what they used to induce me. Right, they had stop dates, so she decided to restart it again, and we're gonna wait 30 minutes and see if that helped, like, to push the baby down a little further. So the 30 minutes go by, and the baby is where she should be. They're checking with their hand; they could feel her and stuff. So they have me do some more pushing. And then, but when I'm pushing, I guess the baby's kind of coming down, but her heart rate is dropping every time that I'm pushing. And then she's not like making progress. She's just going back, like staying in where she's at. So then they call a doctor. And then at this point, I'm getting like, for one, I'm kind of scared and concerned, but I'm also like, I feel like so much pain now. I just want to get this over with, please. So the doctor comes, she checks out what's going on, and she's like, the heart rate keeps dropping for some reason. Um, at this point, the doctor tells me that I have two options. I could either do a vacuum, like she was going to use a vacuum to help me, like when I push, she was going to pull the baby out, or we can do a C-section. But the only thing with the C-section is that the baby was pretty far down. So, they would have to like push her back in, and that could be traumatic for the baby. So it sounded like the best bet was to do the vacuum. And then, so my mom and my boyfriend are there with me at this point, and my mom's concerned, like, well, what can happen, like, if with the vacuum because me and my mom both work with special needs students and stuff, so I feel like that's always like our concern, right? And she's like, can she something happens to her, you know? But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do the vacuum because like I need her to come out now. Like I'm in so much pain, And then I mean the doctors and at this point also there's also like so many other hospital staff in there, other doctors and nurses and midwives. So I'm like, I think we have all the support we need. So we end up doing the vacuum procedure, and when I'm pushing, the doctor is pulling, and finally, thank God, she comes out and she's okay. But it turned out that the umbilical cord was wrapped around her twice, so I think that's what was pulling her back, or not letting her make any progress to coming out, and also making her heart rate drop. So the doctors check her and everything's okay. I ended up staying at the hospital like another 2 days just to be sure. Plus, also just as a new mom, I just have so many questions, and everything was just making me nervous because I don't want nothing to be wrong with her, anything to happen to her, and I don't have help. But by the grace of God, she's here. We're home, and it's been she's 3 weeks now, and 3 weeks and I think 4 days. It's been a great experience, and motherhood has been like, I don't know, it's been great. It's been great. But yeah, that was pretty much my labor and delivery story. Thank you for watching, and I hope that anyone who's watching this, if you're preparing for labor and delivery, I would recommend to get yourself familiarized with breathing techniques and just techniques for when you're feeling those contractions. And I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you for watching.